It seems like there's never a quiet moment in Huntsville. Just when people start to think things might finally calm down between the Scotts, something else surfaces that reminds everyone that peace in this group is always temporary. Right now, all eyes are once again on Maurice and Kimmi, and the conversation around whether Maurice has used Kimmi's real-life battles for a storyline is heating up again. And while that's going on, Tisha is also under a different kind of microscope. Her social media behavior, her silence, her sudden shift into what she's calling her rich girl era, and her constant need to remind everyone that she's a wife. All of it is being picked apart. People are questioning if her entire identity is falling apart piece by piece. Let's get into all of it, because the layers here are deep. Kimmi Scott recently sat down for an interview, and while she touched on some very personal and emotional parts of her life, including her breast cancer journey and her family history, what really caught people's attention was how she talked about Maurice and how she described their relationship in the middle of everything she's been going through. For a long time, fans have felt that Maurice hasn't always shown up for Kimmi in the way she's shown up for him. They've said that even in some of her darkest moments, Maurice seems more focused on how things look for the show, rather than what Kimmi actually needs. And when Kimmi speaks about her story, people can't help but feel like parts of her pain have been turned into a storyline, something to keep the cameras rolling and the conversations going. It's one thing to share your life on reality TV, but it's another when people start to believe that your most vulnerable experiences are being used to build someone else's image. And in this case, that's exactly what many viewers are saying about Maurice. Kimmi's strength during her health battle was undeniable. She was open, transparent, and real. But the question that keeps coming up is, where was Maurice emotionally in all of that? Was he being the supportive husband she needed? Or was he managing a storyline to make sure their presence on the show stayed secure? Because from the outside, it has looked more like the second one. The conversation around Maurice and Kimmi has always been complicated. When Kimmi first joined Love and Marriage Huntsville, people saw her as calm, grounded, and mature, the one who could bring reason to the group. But as time has gone on, viewers have noticed a change. Some feel that Kimmi has become more guarded, more defensive, and that she's lost some of the softness that made people love her. And a lot of that shift, fans believe, is because she's constantly had to protect herself from the lack of emotional depth she receives from Maurice. He's always seemed more focused on his image as a successful man, a businessman, a leader. But when it comes to being a husband, that same effort doesn't always show. When Kimmi talked about her health struggles, the conversation around Maurice reignited. Viewers remembered the times he seemed disconnected, the times he joked during serious moments, and the times he shifted the focus away from what she was feeling. It's almost as if Maurice wants the appearance of being a strong partner, but doesn't want to deal with the reality that comes with being one. And because the cameras were always there, people started to question whether Kimmi's real experiences were being filtered through Maurice's need to look in control. Some are even saying Maurice used Kimmi's situation as a way to secure his role on the show, knowing that sympathy and emotion keep people watching. And honestly, it's hard to ignore how the show has handled their relationship. Every season, there's a pattern. The Scotts talk about communication issues, trust, and the lack of emotional support. But nothing ever really changes. It feels repetitive, and that's why people are now calling it out as a storyline. They think Maurice and Kimmi aren't really addressing their issues in real life. They're just recycling the same problems every season, because that's what keeps them relevant on Love and Marriage Huntsville. For Kimmi, That's painful, because her life isn't a script. She's actually lived through these things. And when you've gone through something as serious as a health battle, the last thing you want is for your recovery to be turned into entertainment. But while Kimmi continues to move forward with grace, the same can't be said about Tisha. Right now, fans are worried and also frustrated with the way she's been moving online. For years, Tisha's entire brand has been about being a wife, a mother, and standing by her man no matter what. But lately, her posts and her silence are telling a very different story. On social media, Tisha has been promoting this rich girl era, where she talks about being rich in memories, friendship, and blessings. She's out with her friends, posting old pictures, and writing captions that feel more like affirmations than updates. On the surface, it looks like a woman trying to find herself, but when you read between the lines, it feels like someone trying to convince herself that everything is fine. Tisha posted about her husband's birthday a couple of weeks ago, calling him my man, my man, my man, and he replied with a simple, "Thanks, bae." But even that post didn't quiet the rumors, because when someone's whole life is built around being a wife and suddenly they go quiet for weeks at a time, people notice. The fans noticed that Tisha, who usually posts regularly, suddenly stopped posting after cheating rumors about Marceau started circulating again, and that silence speaks louder than any post ever could. People are speculating that Tisha's identity is so tied to her marriage that she doesn't know who she is outside of it. And that's dangerous, because once your entire image is based on being a wife, it becomes harder to walk away, even when you're unhappy. Some fans believe that's exactly what's happening, that Tisha might not leave Marceau, no matter what happens, because she's built her whole world around him. Her profile literally says wife to Marceau, and her posts constantly center on being a wife and mother. That's who she is. That's how she's branded herself, and that's the image she protects. But that image might be cracking. There are even fans suggesting that Tisha might be MIA because she's recovering from some kind of cosmetic procedure, or because she's embarrassed about that viral photo of Marceau with another woman. Some believe that even if the picture was innocent, it reminded Tisha of all the other times Marceau's behavior made her uncomfortable. People remember how she reacted when the woman in the red dress from Ready to Love interacted with Marceau. Tisha didn't like that at all, so when this new picture surfaced, it likely brought back that same frustration and embarrassment. If she's been quiet lately, it could be because she's trying to collect herself before reappearing online like nothing happened. Then again, others think it might be more strategic. They believe Tisha could be waiting to reveal a new look, a new business, or a new version of herself once she's ready. But what's really standing out is that her silence doesn't feel peaceful. It feels heavy, like there's something happening behind the scenes that she's not ready to talk about. And that's why people are saying her personality seems to be falling apart. It's not that Tisha doesn't have confidence or ambition. It's that she keeps trying to reinvent herself based on what's trendy instead of what's real. Every time she sees someone else doing something successful, she jumps into it, whether it's business, branding, or products, but it never lasts. Because it's not coming from her own passion. It's just coming from wanting to keep up. And we've seen this pattern before. When Melody's products started doing well, Tisha suddenly launched her own. When Stormy came on the scene with her beauty line, Tisha followed the same route, and even ended up copying parts of Stormy's shipping or privacy policy, which she later claimed was her team's mistake. But this is what fans mean when they say Tisha doesn't finish what she starts. She jumps from idea to idea, chasing trends, but without the discipline or real drive to see things through. It's almost like she wants the appearance of being successful more than the actual process of building something successful. And that's why her brand feels unstable, because it's built on imitation, not innovation. Now, fans are also talking about the rumor that Tisha plans to leave Marceau after their house, Scott Manor, is finally complete. It's something people have been whispering about for months. And even though Tisha hasn't confirmed it, the timeline is suspicious. She's been quiet. The cheating rumors are still floating around, and the house still isn't finished. So what's really going on? Some people think she's holding out until the house is done because she wants to make sure she gets something out of it. Maybe she's emotionally attached to it. Maybe she's been waiting for that house for so long that she wants to live in it, even if just for a while before walking away. Because let's be honest, that house has become a symbol. It's not just a home. It's proof of everything she's put up with, everything she's worked for, and everything she's sacrificed. Others believe she wants the house done before she leaves because it's tied to finances. Maybe she plans to refinance or use it to secure her independence later. Or maybe it's deeper. Maybe she just doesn't want another woman moving into a house that she designed, decorated, and dreamed about. The emotional part of that is real. Many women stay in relationships longer than they should because they want to see something completed. A home, a project, or even a dream. They want to leave knowing that all their work meant something. So it's possible Tisha wants Scott Manor completed not for the show, but for herself. But if we're being honest, the whole Scott Manor storyline has become almost a joke to fans. It's been years of hearing about this dream home, and still, it's not finished. People have compared it to She by Sheree, a project that just keeps dragging on with no clear progress. It's become symbolic of Tisha and Marceau's relationship. All talk, no results. And at this point, people are tired of hearing about it. Every season, it's the same thing. Updates about the house, promises of progress, and then silence. The house represents more than just construction delays. It represents the emotional stagnation in their marriage. And while all of this unfolds, Kimmi is left in a strange position. On one hand, she might feel relieved if Tisha and Marceau do separate, because their dynamic has always been complicated. Kimmi has never seemed completely comfortable around Tisha. There's a certain tension between them, a mix of family obligation and emotional distance. But on the other hand, if Tisha leaves Marceau, that changes everything for Kimmi too. It changes the family structure, the filming dynamic, and even her storyline. Because whether people like it or not, part of Kimmi's story on the show is tied to the Scotts as a family unit. If that breaks apart, she'll have to stand completely on her own. And that's where the question of Maurice comes back in. What happens to Kimmi's storyline if Maurice doesn't bring anything new to the table? For years, his only real talking points have been career, sex, and control. It's repetitive. Fans are tired of it. They want growth, but instead, they keep getting the same narrative about communication and intimacy issues. And now that Kimmi has gone through something so personal, people expect to see depth. They want to see Maurice step up emotionally. But if he can't do that, then what does he really bring to the show? Some fans even think Kimmi deserves better than to keep carrying a man who's using her pain to stay relevant. People online are already predicting that if things keep going the way they're going, Kimmi might start pulling away from Maurice. Not necessarily leaving, but creating distance. You can see it in her tone and her expressions during interviews. She's more reflective now, more careful with her words. It feels like she's emotionally checked out of trying to fix things that aren't meant to be fixed. And maybe that's her way of taking back control. Because when you've been through life-changing challenges, you see people for who they really are. And maybe Kimmi has finally seen Maurice for who he truly is, someone who might love her, but doesn't know how to love her the way she needs.